Breath of Fire. I'm Kevin.
Leland? Tony?
Chris?
Alright, well, if you don't remember, our concept game was an RTS similar to like a Company of Heroes style. It's dragons versus barbarians, two sides. The basic premise is there's a bunch of zones throughout the map, and they have resources. There's two different resources type attached to a zone, so you either get gold or food. And basically the whole point is to capture zones. You can either win by holding zones for a certain amount of time and going down a ticker, or you can just completely destroy the other team. We used Unity 3D to build the game. And here was our initial map layout. You can see the zones marked like R2, R1, with the squares. And pretty much, if you go to the next one, this is how it turned out. The white squares are the zones. On the top right will be where the dragons are, and on the bottom left is where the barbarians will spawn.
So white blocks don't stay white when you're playing the games.
They'll change color depending on what team has control of the square. So say if a barbarian comes in and kind of chills in a zone for a long period of time, then the color of the square will slowly transition from white to green.
And they're semi-transparent, so they don't look like that.
And the dragons will have a transition from whatever color it's originally to red.
A few of the things we have implemented so far is pathfinding, which we'll go into a little bit more later. Attack routines, zone control, and win conditions. We pretty much have a bunch of scripts right now. We haven't implemented the entire AI yet, but we have all the scripts for moving, for variables for the AI, for functions for the AI that we use, clicking. We pretty much had to build it from scratch, so anything that was like any menu pop up and you just like move this unit here, click on this unit, we had to build from the scripts with using Unity 3D, which was a little bit complicated at first, just getting used to Unity and just how all it worked, but it gets easier and useful the more we've gone through it, but you just have to go through and find out, you know, how the engine works, because there's all these different game objects and stuff and different things attached to it that, you know, you have to follow these certain rules with the scripts. So that took a little while to get used to, but
one of the major obstacles was actually the time at which certain scripts are compiled. So Unity doesn't compile their C#, JavaScript, and Blue scripts all at the same time. They actually have different compile times for each of them. So if you have source code with, or rather if your project has code from different scripting languages, then if you have any sort of interconnectedness there or any references from one script to another that's in another language, then you'll have compile time errors, which was annoying. Yeah. All right, so this is A-star pathfinding. We implemented it through a nav mesh sort of method. There was a package that basically implemented basic A-star pathfinding, and we just laid that on top of the entire game. Since initially my attempts at making pathfinding were not very successful based on the terrain not being completely flat. So the units would try to move underground or above ground into the air and try to float in the air, which would make them kind of twitchy and move erratically. So this system has a separate invisible plane that's 100 game units above the terrain map, and then it raycasts points down to the terrain map, and whenever it strikes an obstacle, which is the actual terrain game object, they'll create a waypoint there, and that's how the A-star is calculated, or the path is calculated for AIs.
You can see some of the zone controls. So like the dragons capture these territories, and you can see like the colors changed so that you can visually see which zones are under your control at any given time if you browse over the map. If these are the dragons controlling these territories, so they're red. If those are the barbarians, they'd be green. Some other screenshots showing our evolution kind of process. So you can start off by spawning a whelpling from your main base, and it comes out as this little yellow dragon. But if you have enough resources, you can evolve them into the next dragon up, which is this drake sort of thing, which is more hit points. It walks a little slower, but it's tougher, I suppose. And then you can pick specializations after that, depending on which resources you have available to you, what you need at the time. And so like clicking on the thing will immediately spawn a new version of him. And there's a timer, so you can't do it. You can like spam.
Like I said, we haven't fully finished the AI, but we are trying to do a command hierarchy where there'll be a high-level strategy AI that will call on the smaller AIs. And those low-level AIs will be in a finite state machine, so they'll have 2 or 3 different states that they'll be in, depending on the game situation.
So like most of the low levels already have like an attacking state, a seeking state, and things like that.
Yeah.
But we haven't planned the broad strategy.
Yeah, and like I said, we have global scripts and everything for variables and functions that the AI would be able to use that we have, but we just haven't been able to complete it yet.
So we have a framework down, but we haven't had much planning.
But, and another thing that we hopefully can do before the demo is just get a better user-friendly interface. Right now, I mean, it works, but it's not very intuitive to the player, exactly what's going on. You can control units, but they don't have a little marker on them, which we hopefully implement so you can actually see, oh, that's the unit I'm controlling. And just things, making menus just a little nicer and more descriptive for the user. Hopefully we can do that. And then just more balancing with the cost of the units and the times they spawn, and just the power, just the overall general thing the game, so the game's not too easy or too hard. And a few problems we encountered, again, Unity took a little time just to get used to, and how the scripting and all the functions and everything worked. And our graphics are not very good. I mean, none of us are graphic people, so it was like our first time trying to do this. We got some assets from just like the internet and stuff to layer on and things, and our animations probably not going to be able to do, if any, because it just takes a lot of time, and we'd rather have a game that works, and if it doesn't look as good, oh well. And version control was also a little difficult in the beginning and stuff. We started using Tortoise SVN, and that sort of wasn't really working really well. We were getting a lot of conflicts and stuff, so we switched to Dropbox, but which is working pretty alright. Like, you can have multiple people working in Unity at the same time, but if someone is working on a script and they screw the script up and it doesn't compile, then it will, if you're in the scene, it will completely take you out of the scene and you can't play it. So then it's sort of a little difficult. If everyone's working on scripts, it's alright, because if no one's in the scene trying to make sure their script works, it won't kick you out, obviously. But if someone's trying to work in the scene and someone's working on the script, it can get a little issues there.
The pro version of Unity does support like version control, but we're using the free version and they do not.
Well, both versions support version control, but the pro version has support for the official Unity asset store, which is their sort of third-party software that you can install onto your own server, which manages everything very nicely, or so is that case.
We're just going to show you a dragon killing a barbarian,
and also that
and how the zones work.
And how the zones work, and how basically the pathfinding works. So we do have obstacles in our map. the mountains are untraversable, some of the bigger trees are untraversable, some of the rock obstacles are untraversable. So say this mountain here, that mountain up there, the houses obviously, you can't climb on top of them, and that big tree. So if you click, if say your dragon is right here and you clicked that where the dragon is right now, then it will go around the tree, which, kind of fun, yeah.
What about the river in terms of traversability?
The river is mostly there just for, as a doodad.
It's like a delineation between what you start, like your original territory.
Okay, so there's no problem in terms of
No.
traversal? Okay.
And our major choke point was supposed to be created by the mountains, so like they have to be funneled sort of towards the center of the map, but the river is supposed to cross. At least in our concept.
That concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
I know it's an RTS here,
Right.
but are you just controlling units that just kind of spawn, or are you building buildings?
You can spawn units through the spawn manager thing.
If you go back to the map thing, like, so there's a base in the corner of each thing that you can click on, and it
Yeah.
spawns units from that base.
Okay, is that based on some sort of resources?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought there were, like, you can see like the GUI at the top that shows you your current resource and population and things like that. I thought there was a screenshot that had it, I didn't point it out, sorry.
Yeah, well,
There, see, so like at the top, your population and things.
So this is like the actual game.
Yeah, so there's a screenshot from in-game, that's why.
The other stuff was just, I guess, the
From-
map. That's
yeah.
just an
Yeah.
overview.
That's just all your stuff.
No, this is pretty much the angle you see it from.
And that would be like you're talking about with the edges on the.
Yeah, so you can tell which zones are yours.
Is there any actual, how do you win?
How
Just
do you
play
win?
anyone?
There's a
Or
ticker,
control zone?
my screenshot, it's for the rover. So there's like a timer, countdown timer. So if you have more territories than they have, the countdowner will tick down to 0.
So think of Battlefield or
Yeah.
Battlefield series. We have that kind of countdown timer, and also if you annihilate all the enemy units, then you'll also win.
Yeah.
yeah, there's no buildings, it's just really sad. In fact, so you can't build anything, but
So you have your main starter bases, but you don't construct the city.
If you have certain territories, you can build different units. So, like if we have this one, you can spawn like the special like fire dragons because this is lava. Over here, if you control these, it's ice dragons. Stuff like that.
So yeah, zone control not only provides you resources, but also unlocks food, essentially.
So I understand the live RC ability, we have that something similar with creating spikes for our game, but what about sound and music? How do you guys go about implementing that?
We're either just gonna find some music and stick it in there, or
Maybe it was making you.
I tried composing some things, but it was like I had it in MIDI, and Unity doesn't have MIDI support, I don't think, so I took it.
You know, we're not good with digital DAWs either. I'm not a big fan of
any other questions?
Any others?
How do you get resources in this game?
Controlling the sounds.
Yeah,
It's a resource ticker, it just constantly picks up based on the number of resources of that type.
So yeah, if you play the Call of, Company of Heroes series, you can capture points, and then as long as you capture the points, every tick, or after a certain interval, every certain interval rather, you would get the amount of resources that that point provides.
That makes sense.
Any others? Okay, there you go.